to send it in as Arsenal look to score anyway. It's Declan Rice. His new goal is bringing goals. And this Arsenal side is having no problem scoring goals around this team. Brentford have held out till the 19th minute. But Arsenal seems set for that top spot. To White, and the body in there, Havertz! He restored for Arsenal! And a Benoit cross again.
I think the biggest thing that's come out of the weekend is we have said as an on-running theme since what feels like forever, but it's actually been since our first podcast after Christmas and New Year, was that we felt that because of our losses to particularly to Fulham and West Ham, that there was no wriggle room, and obviously with the form of Man City and Liverpool, that we basically had to win our run of games, including Liverpool, in that game up until we played Man City at the Etihad, and hope that had we won all those games, we would then be in touching distance or striking distance of having a good fist at going for the league title with approximately 10 or so games to go. Turns out that's exactly what we've done.
Exactly what we've done.
It's exactly what we've done. We have become scoring Arsenal. We have scored loads of goals. We've conceded very few. We have topped most of the metrics. We have quietly, and I say quietly because although we've been talking about it, most of the rest of the football lexicon is obsessed with Liverpool and Manchester City.
True.
We've found ourselves top of the league. We should be playing Chelsea on Saturday, but their progression in the FA Cup means that we're at this end of this run, and our next league game is that aforementioned trip to the Etihad at the end of the month.
On Easter Sunday.
On Easter Sunday, yes.
Jesus will arise.
But yeah, we've done what we had to do. It's interesting. I think in that run of games since Crystal Palace, there'd be a few potential banana skin games in there, and none more so than perhaps Brentford, who we struggled to beat earlier this season. Obviously, we beat them twice already at the G-Tech, once in the League Cup, and obviously in the league, but we struggled to beat them last season at home, not helped of course by dodgy VAR decisions, and we all knew with Paul Tierney manning the VAR this past weekend that we wouldn't get much out of that. But no, I thought we dispatched Brentford pretty well. I thought it was a good control performance. There is one big talking point though. I think the first half was, as I say, excellent version of the suffocation that we've been doing. Kai Havertz missed a good chance, but look, we found ourselves 1-0 up by Declan Rice, and then Dan, your mate, got involved.
Yeah, Dan's favourite.
Look, man, I actually am going to defend Aaron Ramsdale on this. I think it's quite harsh.
Could well be his last ever Arsenal appearance.
Yeah. I think Ramsdale's been treated quite harshly by a number of the Arsenal fans. And and I'm going to jump to his defense. I feel like Wissa closed him down really well. I think he had a little bit of time, but he's not as comfortable on the ball as David Raya. It's just simple as that. That's one of the reasons why Mikel brought in David Raya. And Mikel wants to play a certain style of football. Aaron Ramsdale was attempting to play that style of football, and unfortunately got caught playing that style of football. So I have to defend Ramsdale a bit. It was a clear mistake. Obviously, he had some time on the ball, but do you know what? No, I'm trying to fighting to lose an argument here. Aaron, I tried, mate. I really did.
Oh, come on, Dan. That's fine.
It was pretty poor. It was poor. And
he took an extra touch that he shouldn't have taken.
Yeah, there was...
also he's a goalkeeper. He's allowed to just fall on the ball at that point.
well, no, actually, because it was a back pass. But yeah, he
Oh,
There was
tell
a
me the
ball. There
rules of
was a
football, James. Thank
well.
you.
I'm sorry to be the voice of reason yet again. The ball was on, which was the ball to the right back, who was out of a lot of the camera shots, which was William Saliba, which is probably the ball that David Raya would have played. But yeah, Ramsdale tried to launch it quickly to put us on a counter attack, and yeah, he just that was a bad one. That
Yeah,
was a
it
bad one.
was.
That
It
that
was.
very
that
poor
to me,
moment.
if there
Like,
was ever if there was ever a moment that I think the collective Arsenal fan base needed to actually realise what the David Raya move was about, that was it. And I think that kind of, I mean, we've said before that the kind of the debate's over. We know what David Raya brings to the team, and the
sure.
calmness and the assuredness with the ball at his feet. But yeah, that couldn't be more pronounced than what
Yeah.
happened
It was
at the
also
end of the
very
first half on
it was
Saturday.
also very poor timing, obviously, because it was like right at the end of the first half. You
Yeah.
obviously much prefer to go into, go to halftime being 1-0 up than
Yeah, and look,
being at 1-1 after
oh no, it put us right
after an
under
awful
pressure.
mistake.
I thought
So,
we really laboured in the second half.
mm,
I was really worried because I thought it that took me straight back to Arsenal of last season. We were a bit frantic. We were look, Brentford tried to spoil the game. There was a lot of free kicks and corners, and there was a lot of we couldn't get our rhythm going. And I know we're a really good set piece team, but actually, ironically, so are Brentford.
yeah.
But
Well,
we
if
just couldn't get our game going, and I think it was one of those things where there's a lot of talk and narrative about should Kai Havertz had a second yellow for a apparent dive. No.
no, I think
When was
that
the
I
last
think
player who got booked for diving in the league?
mm,
um
mm.
I don't
Diego
even think
Jota
his
did a
first
horrendous
one was a
dive.
yellow card, to be honest.
No.
No, I don't think so either.
We should have had an
Yeah.
absolute blatant penalty for a pullback on Trossard.
Yep. Oh, no
Potentially there was
doubt.
one for Gabriel as well, but I think the
Mm,
Trossard one was. If that wasn't a penalty, I don't know. I don't. Well, again, we said Paul Tierney was on VAR, so what do we expect? But no, one of the things I think that's important to mention, and to give a bit of balance to the Aaron Ramsdale kind of thing, was that yeah, it was a bad error. It was a bad error, and I think the big thing with it with
mm,
Aaron is that kind of set the tone. That every time the ball went back towards him, there was the crowd was a bit jittery. He was going long with a lot of his kicks. That calmness
mm.
wasn't there. When there was a corner or a set piece against, he's jumping
Mm.
around, he's bouncing around, he's flapping a bit. That's
If I
just the
may,
goalkeeper
like,
that
there's
he
one.
is, and I do
Yep.
think that when we got the winning goal, at that moment, it's at that moment where he's jumping around, and when we got the
Mm,
goal, and he turns around and he starts,
Oh, that was poor.
shushing the crowd and all that sort of
mm.
stuff, and doing knee slides. That's exactly the type of thing that Mikel doesn't want. He wants us to be a team, not to be so emotional on the edge of our seat of our pants. And we saw that match was a caricature of everything about Aaron Ramsdale, good and bad, because you saw a ridiculous goal that goes in where he should have been quicker with his feet, and we know that whilst he's decent with the ball at his feet, he's not elite. We saw some incredible shot stopping, the even Tony half volley. I'm pretty sure that beats David Raya, to be honest with you. That was a brilliant save, great save off Nathan Collins, reaction save of the header. As a shot stopper, as a guy who can keep the ball out of the back of the net, Aaron Ramsdale is right up there. But at our level, for the game, the type of game we want to play, you've got to be more than that. Pep always talks about the goalkeeper when you're in possession is the 11th player. He's the extra sweeper, extra defender. There was the amazing throw out he did in the first half, Aaron Ramsdale, which was great distribution. Very similar to the chance that he created for Reece Nelson in the FA Cup game against Liverpool, straight down the middle. As I said, you saw a couple of amazing reaction saves, but with the ball at his feet, he's just not as good as David Raya. And that's where we're at.
Yeah, James, I make you right. I do think Ramsdale, there was a kind of bit of retribution for him there. Obviously made that awful mistake, but he also made two amazing saves. There was that amazing pass out that I think if Martinelli had been on the field, I think that probably would have been a goal. I mean, you see Raya making very similar throwouts as well. Obviously they train together. I mean, listen, this actually goes into a different thing as well about Ramsdale, because I know that the assumption is that we're selling him. If you'll go with me on this, I don't think we should.
Well, I think if we had the choice, we wouldn't, right? We'd have him as
I
our
would
number.
sell him. I would
We'd
sell
have
him.
him. We'd have him as our number 2 keeper. That I mean, like in the terms of
That's what I'm
squad
thinking
quality
too. Because
wise,
if we sell
Aaron Ramsdale would
Ramsdale,
be a
then our backup
very
is
good
Hine.
deputy number 2.
And I don't know anything about Hine because then we go into a different situation where we're buying
Yeah.
another keeper.
But that's as things stand, like right this minute. I mean, we've got Arthur Okonkwo, who's on loan at Wrexham. Look, we probably would have to get a new goalkeeper. I think whoever we bought or sold, and that was probably going to happen anyway. I think once Matt Turner went, it was quite clear we were going to get somebody else. It just happened to be that David Raya came on the market. I've said before, I'm a walking contradiction. All football fans are. I like a majority of people couldn't understand why we signed David Raya. I thought it wasn't enough. It wasn't a significant enough of an upgrade on Aaron Ramsdale. I thought we had a brilliant goalkeeper who had a great connection with the fan base, who was all set to become England's number 1 in time. I was more than happy with that.
Yeah,
Mikel,
I hate
yet
being
again,
right. I really do.
Mikel,
It's a
yet
burden
again, has
that I
proved me
have.
wrong.
It's a burden that I have.
You supported the idea of bringing in another keeper to challenge, and you supported the idea of, it makes us better, therefore we should do it. But you weren't exactly calling for Ramsdale's head at the time either.
That'd be a lie to say like we need another keeper. Of course not. However, I supported the decision. I backed Mikel's vision, unlike some, and now I'm doing a big fat. I told you. So no, I'm not really.
Well, no, I think
no,
I
no,
was.
no,
I think
no,
no, I
no,
was.
I'm joking.
I think we were all
I'm only
kind of in
joking, right?
agreement that if it makes us better, then do it. But we were all like, did we really need to do it? Because it felt like at the start it unsettled the team, didn't it? When we were a little bit clunky in our performances, in the outset of the season, and we were all yearning for last season's performances, it felt a bit clunky, and it was a bit like, well, why have we not signed a central midfielder? Why have we put all our load into goalkeepers? You know what I mean?
Which is interesting, actually, because I mean, I think that Raya's start as an Arsenal player was actually not that dissimilar to the man who's become known as King Kai. He stepped into the team, and we're sort of wondering, why have we done this? And yet now we're talking about them in completely different terms.
Isn't this a common theme though with Mikel signings,
Mm.
where we sign
It
someone
seems to be,
for
doesn't it?
somewhat amount of money? We go, why are we doing that
Mm.
for? What's he doing?
Mm.
We could have spent that on someone else. Blah blah blah. A few months down the line, we're going, oh, actually, we were wrong about that.
Ben White is a great example.
Annie
of that,
Blanco,
isn't
who I
he?
thought was man of the
Like,
match on
yeah.
Saturday. Prime example of
And he's
50 million for Ben
yeah.
White. Why are we doing that? Who the fuck's Ben White?
Yeah.
Well, that's who Ben White is. And
Yeah.
I think he's one of the most underrated players in the Premier League.
Yeah, I make you right on that one for sure. I think with Ben White though, the only thing I think with that is let's not have too much revisionism there. He was signed as a centre back, and he's become a great right back, and it doesn't always have to be, that you make us. You know what? Cut that bit out. That's stupid. I apologise.
It's fine. Don't worry.
I think back to your point though about Brentford game being, a capsule of what Aaron Ramsdale is about, good and bad. It was exactly that, and that showboating or whatever, antagonizing the crowd after the game. That's something we've loved about him previously. That bit of shithousery, but he really needs some self-awareness. Like we fucking pulled him out there. You know what I mean? That could have been really, really bad for him. And luckily, Kai Havertz saved his ass, really. So to be giving it to the Brentford, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure he would have been getting it a lot from the Brentford fan, shit, David Raya, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes, and I think, you just need that calmness. And that's what I feel like Raya's brought. I also feel like Kai Havertz has brought. It's that calmness that this is what we're meant to do. Declan Rice is the same. This is what we're meant to do. This is my job. This is what I'm doing. There's that coolness to them. Whereas I think Jesus is, quite energetic, quite, Rams are high energy players. And I think Mikel saw how emotional we were last season and how intense we were. And, has brought in a couple of players that have really calmed us down and made us more cold, I like to think, and more workmanlike. Like, we're meant to be here. This is what we're meant to be doing. We're meant to be top of the league. We're meant to be challenging.
In terms of performances, I thought Declan Rice was amazing yet again. Really deserved his goal. It was funny when he scored, actually, because watching the game I had the commentary turned down because I'm listening. I can't be the only one. Peter Jury screaming players' names and doing everything like a fucking piece of prose. Like, I could put a brick through the TV now. It's getting unbearable how everything's so overblown, and this is a childhood story and this is so good and this means more and blah 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 blah. And yeah, we get it, Peter. You're a great wordsmith, but please, a guy's taking a throw in. It's not it's not that dramatic.
It is quite funny. You do hear that more and more of commentary these days, where it's sort of like they try to be poets rather than
it's unbearable
than be commentators. And it's just like the really ridiculous alliteration. And
I mean, take me back to John Motson and Barry Davis. I mean, I know both. John Motson's dearly departed, but very much missed. But no, as I was going to say, when I saw Declan Rice leap for that header, I actually my initial thought was that was Kai Havertz had scored. It was that kind of guided header, like leaping above the defense. But no, brilliant goal, great assist by Ben White. Declan Rice, we've just become accustomed. We all say he's £100 million bargain. I think we talk about Declan Rice enough, but I think it's just important to mention what he's given this team yet again on this podcast, and I think we should continue to do so until that stops running out, which hopefully will be in 10 more years, because that's what we all want, right? 10 more years, Declan Rice. I thought Trossard. I mean,
his second chance was amazing as well.
Hitting the crossbar. I thought you made a good point, Graham, when you were saying earlier on about had Martinelli been there and got on the end of that Ramsdale throughout, we might have taken a lead. I thought we missed Martinelli quite a bit, actually. With his direct running. I didn't think Trossard played badly, but I that
is true. And also, I think against teams like Brentford as well, because Brentford are they set up quite a stodgy kind of way, and like Martinelli's very good at sort of cutting through teams like that.
I think he's just so direct. And I think that when he's not there, you miss it. I know you mentioned Gabriel Jesus as well. I wasn't overly overwhelmed with him when he came on. I've got to be honest.
Well, I thought he had a decent cameo. I thought he
a few good moments. Yeah,
I thought Reece Nelson looked lively, but I always think Reece Nelson looks lively when he comes on. I don't know maybe I'm seeing something different to somebody else, but I didn't.
I think that's because he always comes on after like 79 minutes.
I just think he gives you something. I don't know. I really do.
Yeah. There's a boost there, isn't there?
Yeah, I thought Gabriel Jesus looked a bit off it. That was my first thought, but maybe I've read that wrong. I don't know. But look, ultimately, the most important thing of this game was getting the 3 points. It's not sustainable. Much to your chagrin, Dan, we cannot win every game 5-6 or more to 0. Can you believe it?
Nonsense! Absolute bollocks. Of course we can.
So, up at the Etihad, you will settle for nothing than a 0-6 away win.
If it's not 6-0, then it should just be a draw, then, shouldn't it? As Graham famously said in the last one.
Yeah. No, I think that
that's true.
No, three really good points. And look, like going back to what we said at the top, I think we couldn't really ask much more from the team from what they've done since that Fulham game. And notwithstanding, obviously, I know we played Liverpool in the FA Cup there, and that was a bit of a disappointment. But look, I think league-wise, we've been absolutely immaculate. We've won games. The manner we've blown teams away. We were, I thought, exceptional against Liverpool, which is a really, really tough game. There's been a few potential banana skin games on the way that we've dispatched. We've done what we needed to do against the cannon fodder of Sheffield United and Burnley. Brentford would never be an absolute gimme. There's potential that was a bit of a trap game because we've got Porto obviously in the week before we go on a bit of a break again. And yeah, I think the 3 points was all that mattered. Very, very pleased. Very, very pleased. And we find ourselves top of the league again.
Yeah.
Top of the league.
How do you guys feel about that? Because I'm a bit
terrified.
I think it might. I'm not sure if it's the right time yet. I've loved us
We've
not
peaked too
being top of
soon.
the league and chasing, as opposed to being chased. I feel like this young team kind of faltered last year because of the lack of experience of maintaining form. I think them having a lead to chase down, I think may have suited us a bit better. I think it's a great position to be in, being top with 10 games left. I think,
Well, we've been here before, like you say.
um,
And if you
Yeah.
can't learn anything,
well, no, we're definitely
then
more equipped this season than we were last season for sure. That
Mhm.
experience would have done us
Yeah.
the world of good. We've added some more experience and leadership to the squad now, and we're much better placed. It's just, when you're top, you've got that target on your back, and now it's just about.
I mean, when you say we're top, I mean it is by the barest of margins at the moment. I mean, the league is so tight. Liverpool and Man City serving up a highly entertaining 1-1 draw yesterday. A game that swung backwards and forwards and then back again. I thought Man City in the opening 20-25 minutes could have been 3-4 up. I thought they looked absolutely superb, and then Liverpool come storming back and were unlucky not to go in at the break up. And then obviously look, in the second half, I thought Liverpool were absolutely fantastic for about a 20-minute spell, and Luis Diaz in particular, I think had 3 or 4 gilt edge chances, and then City right at the end hit the post as well. So it's just it's just one of those games. Yeah, it is going to go right
I'll
down
say
to
I
the
was
wire.
very happy. I was very, very happy about it. Yeah, you're right. I think it is going to go down to the wire. I mean, there are 3 teams.
Yeah, I think on
There are 3
paper
teams
the
in this.
fixtures look kinder for Liverpool, kinder for Man City than for either Liverpool or us. But we're very much one game at a time, aren't we? Territory.
One football cliche. Sorry, I
Yeah,
keep count now.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think in terms of going back at what you say, Dan, and you, Graham, as well, about being terrified. I've never thought we'd win the league at any point this season
Oh,
until today.
color me what?
Wow. Okay. Until today.
Until today.
Say what?
Until
I don't.
today.
And now let me just say this: I don't think we will win the league.
Say
But
what?
I actually now think that I've always. Okay, let me be careful how I word this.
Are you saying now that it's possible?
I always knew that we could win the league. We're Arsenal Football Club. We're not fucking Crystal Palace, right? It's not it's not beyond the realms of
I see. James has gone from possible to probable.
Then I thought, do you know what? Because you guys, do you think we're going to win the league? And I thought, well, no. And I've always been consistent in saying that I thought we've got a better chance in the Champions League. I do think if things fall right for us, I do think we can win the league this season. However, I think we have the hardest task. I think on paper our fixtures are the hardest by far. Depending on what happens in the Champions League, I think that's going to have a big bearing on it as well. So, do I think we will win the league? Unfortunately, I think we probably are going to fall a little bit short. I think our fixtures are just. I think, and we were asking a mutual friend yesterday. He's adamant that we've got to go and win at the Etihad. And I said, I think I would take a draw. And he said, well, City are probably going to win 9 of their last 10 games. And they might have a draw in there, but they're going to win 9 of their last 10. And I said, so what you're saying is realistically, we've got to win all 10 to win the league. And he was like, yeah, well, that would mean we've been on a 17-game winning run. Now it's not impossible.
It's quite a feat.
That would be a hell of a feat. I mean, we're talking like one of the greatest runs in Premier League history here. I'm not sure this team are quite ready to take that leap just yet. And I worry that we've got, when I think about some of the games, I think we've got Wolves away, Brighton away, Tottenham away, Man United away. We've got Aston Villa at home. I just feel like there's a draw in there somewhere. And we're at the point now where, as we know from last season, a draw feels like a defeat. But
yes. Yeah, that is
having
true.
said that, having said all that, my God, if we do win at the Etihad, I mean, what a shot in the arm that will be.
I mean, I'll put this out. I think we can beat them.
Oh, absolutely, we can.
And I think we can beat them in the Etihad. And I think we
Do
could
you
beat
think
them by
we will
a
beat
margin.
them?
100%. I think we
The
will.
thing that changed my opinion today.
I think that there is a way of breaking them down, and we've seen teams do that with Man City
Not many.
to the point that not many, but also recently, if you look at their recent run, they've not scored a huge amount of goals, right? Teams have managed to prevent them from scoring. Okay, but what teams have not managed to do is prevent them from scoring and score,
Yeah.
which I think we can do.
It's the aim. That's the aim of the game, right?
I'm
That's
the
basically described
eternal
football, Graham.
optimist.
Keep the ball out of one end, put it in the other.
Well, to be honest, mate, that's what we're
Do you
talking
know what,
about,
though?
isn't it?
No,
Ultimately,
do you know what? The one thing I would say, like, to give you a little bit of like, I get where you're coming from, is this will be the first time. I mean, everything crossed that nothing bad happens in the next 2 weeks until we play them. But we could have a pretty much fully fit squad to pick from. I mean, take out Jimmy and Timber, obviously, because that's a long-term injury. But and then we could be in that magical, mythical place where it's your best versus our best. Let's see what you got. And then it becomes like an amazing championship boxing fight where it's like, right, this is a pick 'em. This is a flick of the coin. This is who turns up on the day, who wants it more, who's going to really grab it by the scruff of the neck. And obviously that you'd give City a little bit of advantage because they've been there and done it before. It's at the Etihad, it's at their ground, and all the mystique and whatever that comes with that in their favour. But to be able to play them without any new major injuries, sorry, or suspensions, with our team who are on a tremendous run of form, who are well rested and ready and prepared, there is no better time to go there and win. There is no better time to go there and win. As I said before, my worry is I look at our fixtures and I just think there's being really, really honest, I think there's a couple of draws in there for us, and I think that's going to be costly. And I think if it was just us and City,
but you're not saying that there's not
Liverpool
a possibility
as well. I think it's just so tight to call. I actually think probably this season we're going to have to kind of like reconvene this with 5 games to go. I mean, obviously we're going to do that, but I think I think 10 games is a long, long way to go. I think if we can and I think where we had that conversation before, that can we get ourselves in a position that we go to the Etihad where we're within touching distance, and we've done that. Now I think it's going to be, can we get ourselves in a position where we've got 5 games to go and we're in touching distance? I think that's just how it's turning out. It's mad, isn't it?
It's not just that. It's like in touching distance of winning the league and in the quarterfinals of the Champions League as well. It's like that's a really good place to be by the end of March, and that's where we wanted to be. That's what we said. That would be the ideal. Obviously, is still being there or thereabouts in the league and getting to the quarterfinals of champion. We're 1 game away from that, and you just got to credit the team for where they've put us, the form that they've managed to reach.
Yeah.
How dare they've made us hope. Those bastards.